Welcome back to Alt Perspective. My name is Tim. This is our flagship podcast where each week we gather, and by gather I mean the two of us, wherever two or more are gathered.
That's right.
So
And we are
can be
gathering, and we are two of us.
can be used in that context. We have confirmed biblically. Anyway, we gather here every week to discuss culture through a biblical worldview and how to have a Christ-like heart towards the culture and how to walk like Jesus within the context of culture. Sometimes that culture is just the wide range culture. Sometimes it's political culture. Sometimes it's pop culture. Whatever culture is demanding we speak about, we try to speak about it in a timely fashion, of course. And today, that being said, we are wrapping up our kind of retrospective review. It's not really a retrospective because it's not old enough to be a retrospective, I suppose, but our review,
Right.
kind of our in-depth thoughts and reviews on the brand new biblical comedy series, The Promised Land, which covers the story of kind of the back half of Exodus after the crossing of the Red Sea and into Numbers, that sort of thing. So, and it is, like I said, it's a comedy, and if you haven't checked it out, I actually highly suggest you do check it out.
Yeah,
I
it's really
think it
great.
was fantastic. We just, like I said, we just watched the final two episodes of the season, this first season. And this podcast is going to be all about those last two episodes. If you want our in-depth thoughts on the previous four episodes, go check those out. We did 2 episodes over the course of the last 6 weeks or so, because we did an episode, broke it up with another episode of normal just topic, and then went into, so this is the last episode. We're happy to jump in. We're excited to jump in. And we were going to just call it good because some stuff went down this week, and we were just going to call it good, and I was just going to do kind of a shorter form review of the whole season. But I did want to get Mom's thoughts on these final 2 episodes because these were, in my opinion, the best episodes of the season, and they also solidified this as probably one of my new favorite shows on TV right now. Not only that, but high ranking when it comes to this type of comedy, this workplace style comedy. I'm a big fan of this style of comedy, if you can't tell by Dwight hanging out behind me. Big fan of The Office. I'm an Office fan through and through. Back when it was starting to kind of get popular on Netflix is when I picked it up and got really excited about it, and it was super fun. And it's been one of my favorite shows ever since, just kind of constantly in the background. But I'm not going to lie, this show not only puts up its dukes with the big dogs like The Office or Parks and Rec, but I think it outpaces them and outdoes them in many ways. And I'll kind of go into my in-depth thoughts on that. But yeah, I think so. Kind of my high-level thoughts for these last 2 episodes specifically. I want to do our in-depth thoughts on the last 2 episodes, and then I want to do kind of our overall kind of feeling about this first season of the show, how we felt about it overall, where we think it's going, where we know it's going, and how excited we are to see that play out and what they do with it in season 2. But so yeah, my overarching thoughts of these last 2 episodes, I thought these were the best episodes of the season, like I said, not only in terms of comedy and not only in terms of the character arcs being completed for the season as well, kind of seeing the character growth of each character come to the culmination at the end of these last 2 episodes, but also just seeing where all the characters land. Some really cool things happen in these episodes. And really emotional things happen in these episodes. I was actually I was in happy tears. I was holding back happy tears at work while I was watching these. So, I have a lot of thoughts that I'll go more in depth on later. But Mom, what are your kind of overarching thoughts on these final 2 episodes?
I thought they did well. I thought they brought it to a good place to end the season. Um, I thought it definitely ended on a
Oh yeah.
high note in the sense that with a very powerful scene, and to the point where even though it's a comedy, again, once again, they knocked it out of the ballpark with really paying respect to this sensitivity and the honor and the seriousness of what was taking place, as far as especially when it came to when they were after they had put up the tabernacle. Um, and we'll get into that more, but I think they did an amazing job. Again, I thought I really did appreciate it and enjoyed it, and found myself interesting because I watched the third and fourth episode again, still in that mode of I laughed much more and smiled a lot more the second time through than I did the first time through. And then, of course, I enjoyed that. Had a lot of smiles and laughs. And then when we got into that fifth and sixth episode, again, because I hadn't seen it, I got a little bit more serious
Yeah.
and in the watching of it, but enjoyed it a lot. There was still some smile points. I didn't necessarily laugh because
Mhm.
it was, I think, just in coming to a close, it was a little bit more serious in some ways, and um, enjoyed it. I really did. I thought they did a great job, and I'm looking forward to the second season.
Perfect.
And pleased that they're going to continue on with it. From what I saw,
Yeah.
it was announced that they did get the go ahead for the second
Yeah,
season.
they did like a live watch party of the final episode on YouTube. And then after the live watch party, they made the announcement that season 2 got the green light. So,
Nice.
super exciting stuff. And I want to talk about that a little bit too when we get to the end of our in-depth thoughts of this last episode, because I kind of could see them. We'll get there, but let's start with episode 5 though. I'm gonna try to be a little bit briefer because I noticed in the last 2 episodes we did on this, I was being really long-winded in kind of my beat by beat um
Okay.
kind of breakdown of the season or of the episode before we got into our thoughts. And I almost wonder if a better way to do it is kind of like take a beat of the show and then kind of expound on that and then kind of go to the next beat or whatever. But
Okay.
episode 5 I think is really good. So the overall plot, I'll just kind of summarize the overall plot of episode 5 and then we'll kind of get into it. Episode 5 starts out with a hilarious cold open where they're breaking ground on where they're going to build the tabernacle, which I thought was kind of a funny idea because the tabernacle is kind of this temporary structure. So I'm like, it's kind of
Yes.
funny they're making this huge deal about breaking ground on it.
Yeah.
But it paid off because the joke was really funny. They're like, let the construction of the tabernacle begin, and they like all dig their shovels like into the sand, and then a bunch of lizards crawl out and the crowd starts
Yes.
freaking out.
Yes.
And Joshua, he's like, I love Joshua in this scene where he's like he's trying to help Moses calm down the crowd, and Moses is saying like, calm down everybody, and then Joshua's like, calm down everybody, like he's like being the
Yeah.
announcer. And then he says,
Yes.
Joshua, bring them back, and then Joshua turns around and says, Joshua, bring them back.
Yeah.
Like,
That was funny.
I thought it was great. And then they get everybody calm, and then all of a sudden Joshua freaks out when Moses is talking. He's like, they're back, and he freaks out and he gets the crowd all riled up again, and then jumps on the ground with his knife, implying that he's stabbing
Yeah,
one of
like
the.
he was gonna save
Yeah, I
everybody.
thought it was hilarious. So that was like probably the funniest cold open of the season in my opinion so
Yeah,
far.
that was very good.
It's between that and the very first scene of the
First,
season
yeah,
with the battle going on between them and
going
the
on in the
Amalekites
background.
and Moses has to hold the staff up. It's between those two. And then we get into the main plot, which is Moses is starting law school to teach the men of the camp the law, and he's taking volunteers to sign up, which is a really interesting, again, funny way of like kind of mirroring modern society in a way.
Yeah.
With like,
Yes.
you know, he's excited. He's like, he invents law school basically, which he's like really excited about. He's like, I'm gonna call it, and he does a little drum roll, law school, and he's like, and then he's like, or school of law, like he's like kind of, it's kind of tongue in cheek about him inventing law school, and of course Miriam, being the girl boss she is, kind of wants to also be taught like the men are being taught.
Yes.
And so her and why is her
Zipporah.
name Zipporah, her and Zippy come up with this plot to dress up as men and sneak into law school, which, if you know your word, plays out later in a really funny way.
Yes.
So that's kind of the A plot, and then as that plot's unfolding, before Moses goes off into the wilderness to with the men who want to join law school, and of course we know our boy Korah, him in his prideful state, wants to be the best at law school, which is great as well. So we see kind of three of the main leads going off doing the law school thing, and while Moses is away doing law school, he tasks Aaron with a kind of checklist of things to do while he's gone, check up on, and he's giving him a hard time still about the golden calf thing.
Yeah.
And that plays out throughout the 2 episodes as well. So Aaron's kind of thing throughout this whole thing is he does everything on the list except he can't find Joseph's bones. And they're like, it's Joseph, right? I'm pretty sure.
Was it? Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah, Joseph's bones.
Joseph. Yep.
And he has to check on the bones. And so throughout that episode, him, Joshua, and Caleb are off looking for the bones. And throughout these 2 plots, we get a lot of great kind of character moments and development, of course. So what did you think about the A and B plot here, Mom? And did you think these plot lines were cool and worth having?
I thought they were both great. I liked the dealing with, you know what it brought it to me. So for the one, dealing with Moses,
Yeah.
right? And the relationship between Moses and Joshua. I thought it was good because we see humanity there again.
Yeah. Are you talking about, or you said Joshua, you mean Aaron?
Yes,
Moses and
Aaron.
Aaron?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was like, Joshua and Moses
Aaron.
didn't have a lot of time in this episode, but
No. No. I meant Moses, and I'm very tired. So
I know.
Moses and Aaron. The what was going on between them and the plot was actually building.
Yeah.
And so we came into that episode. That was episode 5 that we were dealing. 4 and 5 actually, because of what had happened. But 5 we see more voices get involved with.
Yeah.
They're seeing the conflict of the relationship, and it's not good because it's not a good example for the people.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it conflicting with what he's teaching in the law.
Yeah.
And so now we're seeing everybody get the light bulb moment. Wait, what he's teaching us is actually what's going on. Some of this in his relationship with his brother.
Yeah.
So I liked the mix there. I thought it was effective and good. And then I also enjoyed both. I mean, to me, there was so much going on. It wasn't. I don't know that it was there only 2.
There was a lot going on within the context. You could kind of see the 2 main plot lines. These type of shows are famous for having kind of A, B, and C plots even sometimes going on.
Yeah, because it kind of seemed more like
Because they tend
a lot of stuff going on here.
yeah, what they tend to do is they tend to group characters off into different plot lines. So in this episode, for example, like I said, the reason I kind of broke it down into the A and B plot is because you have Moses, Zipporah, Miriam, and Korah off doing their thing at law school,
Right.
and then you have Joshua, Aaron, and Caleb off doing their thing, looking
Caleb.
for the bones of
Yes.
Joseph. So, but within the context of these two main plot lines, there's so much going on. So we'll kind of take the A plot first and break that down. So we've got Moses is starting law school. Like I said, there's a lot going on here with Miriam feeling left out, feeling like the women need to be learning the law too.
Mm-hmm.
And so her and Zipporah devise this plan to kind of she's the man it, you know, like do the she's the man thing and disguise themselves as men.
Yes.
And sneak into law school. And so they do this, and Moses is teaching the law, and he's acting like a teacher, which I think is great. It's almost like he's teaching a bunch of like middle schooler, high schooler kids.
Yes.
They're all getting excited. He's handing out pistachios as treats to people who get questions right, which I thought. And Korah is in the front row just being a teacher's
I got
pet.
the most pistachios.
He's like, I've got the most pistachios. Yeah. Nobody has more pistachios than me. And he's like saying how if he gets 10 pistachios, then he gets a date or whatever, like or a plum or something. Yeah. So I thought it was like absolutely great that he's got his goals, his little goals or whatever. And then you've got Miriam also being like a superstar student in the background though. Like she's like low key answering all the questions because she doesn't want to get caught.
Yeah. Right.
But in teaching the law, it's like you said, there's a lot going on here with Moses on a personal level because he's teaching the law. And as he's teaching the law, all these characters who are here around him learning it are noticing what he's saying. And they're like, wait, you're treating Aaron in such a manner that doesn't align with what you're teaching us. So what's going on there?
Yep.
And there's a couple of those moments where like Miriam in her disguise comes up to him and has a little heart to heart with him. And that even turns into kind of a funny moment because like what she's saying is like almost coming off to Moses as like judgmental in a way. And so he's like questioning who she even is.
Who are you even, right?
And she's like, don't worry about my name, just dwell on what I said. And then she like runs away or whatever. Or what did she say? I gotta pee. And she like she's like, I gotta pee. And then she says standing up, of course, like always.
Yeah.
But like I think it's really cool. And there's something even going on with Miriam and Zipporah here too, because they recognize in the teaching that one of the laws, again, like I said, if you know your Bible, one of the laws is what's the word? It's basically, I mean, it's a sin to dress up like for a woman to dress
Heresy.
up a men's garment and a man to dress up in a woman's garment. And they hear this law and they're actively dressed as men. And they're like, so,
and they're looking at each other like,
and then Zipporah freaks out, you know, immediately,
like,
and she's like, I'm out, and she dips like real fast. Miriam sticks around, and then there's a really funny moment between them later too, where Zipporah brings Miriam some bread. She's like, I smuggled you some bread to nourish you while you sin. And Miriam's like, thank you. And then she's like, wait, hey, like she realizes what she said. So yeah, there's a lot of great moments in law school that kind of covers the main beats that happen. It all kind of culminates in Miriam confronting Moses on how he's treating Aaron. Did you have any thoughts on those events that transpired?
There was a lot of very, modern day humor in this episode, especially when it came to what you would consider a man's camping trip.
Yeah.
You know, things that they were doing, comments they were making, and very male oriented. I won't say chauvinistic, but just
little sexist, but like but in a
Sexist. Yeah.
tongue-in-cheek way, you know, like Korra. It might,
Hmm.
and mainly coming from the character we expect to say it, right? Most of it comes from
Yes.
Korra.
Yeah.
Like the really like sexist, chauvinistic stuff comes from
Yep.
Korra. But also like that's the standard man. Like back in this time again, we have to put it into context of
Yes.
the time period. So that almost gives them like a free pass to kind of get away with these jokes because they
Yeah.
because they're it's time accurate. Like I mean, this is how they viewed women, and they're just doing it in kind of a tongue in cheek way here. But
Yeah.
also when you have a character like the way they set up Miriam in the show, it shows that like even though women were viewed almost as lesser than by some men, you can see that
Not
they're
even lesser than they were viewed as property.
but
Let's
you
just
can
be
also
real.
see though like there's characters like Moses who treat the women with respect though.
Respect. Yeah.
Like even though they were viewed in a certain light by most of the men, there's men like Moses who treated them with respect. And anyone who says the Bible in general is kind of sexist is ridiculous because I just read about Deborah today or Deborah
Yeah.
or whatever in Judges, and oh my gosh, holy cow, that chick freaking stabbing
Yeah.
fat dudes in their sleep or whatever. Like, let's go. Like, you know, it's like, yeah. So I think there's a really good balance there where they don't take it too far into the kind of sexist realm, but like you kind of have
No,
to have
it
some of
was
these
a light.
you have to have some of these
Yeah.
tongue-in-cheek jokes to kind of poke fun at how they viewed women at the time.
It's a way, they were masterful in it because what it did is it was an honest insight
Yeah.
of the day, but done in a manner that they made fun of it, tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it shed light onto how women were looked at
Mhm.
and how they were treated a lot of the time. So I think it was a good way to show the truth, I guess,
Yeah.
of the time period and represent it effectively without, I guess, with making it acceptable today in our culture. I don't know how if I'm
Yeah.
even making sense. They did it in a masterful way. I
Yeah,
think they did well with it.
I think you're right on the nose there. They did do it in a really masterful way. I really liked the part with Miriam like talking about how liberating it was to be a man. Cause she's like
Yeah.
seeing the guy like itch his armpit and she itches her armpit, and then she sees the guy like stretch his legs out
Oh
and
yeah.
she stretches her
Stretch
legs out.
opens his
Like yeah,
pressure roll.
yeah. There's one where a guy just like belches obnoxiously loud, and then she tries it, and she's
Yes.
like so it's really funny. But then
She
you like
outdoes him.
there's also a point where like she realizes why Moses didn't want her and Zipporah there, because he said to her
Yeah.
like, I don't want you here because it's going to be a bunch of
Not a
men
proper place.
like sleeping in close quarters, and it's not appropriate for women to be there. And then
Well, and then they even
and-
did the one shot.
yeah,
blurred
and then
out.
Miriam didn't get the picture until like she sees like they're all settling in for the night, and one guy's like, time to settle in for the night, and he takes his tunic off, and they blur it, like don't get too up in arms, they blur it out, but like, and he's like, oh, nice breeze tonight, no? And like she realizes, and it's like really quick too, like it doesn't linger, but
Yeah.
it like and then like it mostly catches Miriam's reaction, and she's like, oh, like she's like realizing in that moment, this is why Moses didn't want me here.
Yeah.
But it's also played off for
Yeah.
laughs too, which
And
is
they
really
did.
fun.
They blurred it out. It was
Yeah.
and it was the backside and it was all blurred out.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really
Yeah, well, it wasn't anything inappropriate, so they even did that in a respectful way. It reminded me of the shot at the beginning when Chasisi steals the guy's clothes while he's bathing in the river. That's what it kind of reminded me
Yeah,
of. Same
yeah.
energy, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, some great stuff there. And then so Moses is starting to kind of get the idea here that, oh, I'm not treating Aaron very well. And people are noticing.
Yeah.
And he's defending himself. He's like, oh, I'm just kind of, I'm pulling his leg. I'm messing with him. He deserves to kind of be teased about it.
It's just it's
this
what
is
we do.
this is how
It's-
brothers,
Yeah.
And then So, and then you got the B plot. We'll kind of dive into that too. Oh, and then we'll just kind of briefly mention it. Chasisi's not here much, but I do appreciate they still gave him some screen time in this episode. He's got his own little C plot going on where he's trying to train a quail named Quailopatra
Yes.
to send a message to his family back in Egypt. So good. I loved this whole little that Chasisi kind of gets his own little plot in this episode.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, he's trying to train a quail throughout the episode, basically. All of the jokes in his scenes were fantastic. Ultimately culminating into him being like, okay, I need to try training on a mass scale. So he has like 5 quails by the end of the episode he's trying to train to go bring a message. And again, this is another plot line that sets up here and then pays off in episode 6, which I think is really good. And then we got the B plot with Aaron, Caleb, and Joshua. So Aaron starts off looking for the bones. He realizes they're gone. He doesn't know where they are, where they're kept, anything like that. So he starts off looking for the bones. And he kind of, throughout this process, enlists Joshua into helping him. And Caleb wants nothing to do with it. But he ends up kind of following them in the background anyway. Because
he cares for him.
Yeah, Aaron and Joshua get the bright idea that maybe they lost the bones somewhere along the way from Egypt. So they trace their steps all the way back to the Red Sea throughout the episode. So I thought that was fantastic. They do this after, I want to mention, what's his name? Seth. What an addition to the show. I love this guy. They introduced this character named Seth. And I know there's many Seths in the Bible. I don't know if this is like the Seth. It can't be, because Seth was one of Noah's children, right? So it can't be the Seth we know.
I'm sure it was just a Seth.
Also there's this like weird there's also this weird implication that it might be the Seth, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
So what I'm talking about, so they're looking for the bones and they're going all around the camp trying to find them. And somebody suggests they talk to Seth because he's a mysterious guy who only turns up when people die. And he takes the dead bodies away. And so they go to Seth's little cave in the rocks or whatever, where he presumably stays. He's chopping up some mystery meat. And they ask him, he asks if they're hungry, and they're like, what kind of meat is that? And then he totally dodges the question. So there's just a lot of mystery behind this Seth character. But the reason I say there's an implication that he might be the Seth is because they ask about Joseph's bones, and he says, who is Joseph related to? And they tell him Joseph's ancestors, and he's like, oh, original Joseph. He's like, my old friend. Like, so there's this weird implication that Seth has been alive, because Caleb even leans to Joshua and says, how old is he? Because he looks like a younger guy, but there's this implication that he's been alive like long enough to know
a long time.
Joseph. Yeah. So really interesting stuff there. He's just this mysterious character that I wonder if is ever going to turn up again, but really weird, funny interactions with this guy.
Yeah.
But so they don't find Joseph's bones there, obviously. So then they get the idea that they're going to trace their steps back to the Red Sea. And they do this. They come across one of their old camps. They find like a dead body there, bones, dry bones, and they're like, oh, look, bones. Are these Joseph's bones? And then Caleb, he's following them the whole time, and he's hiding in like a tent, and he starts like pretending like the body's talking to him or whatever. He's like, get away from my bones. And then they confront Caleb and ask,
did they say something like, go back to where you came from?
Yeah, go back to where you came from. Yeah. They confront Caleb and ask why he didn't just come with them to begin with. Again, we see kind of a lot of great development, character development, and relationship development between Caleb and Joshua here. Because there's a really good interaction throughout this whole sequence. It's probably really the only one worth talking about, because they end up getting to the Red Sea, and Aaron's Aaron realizes that it was ridiculous to go trek all the way back there. And that it was
Yeah.
more a journey of discovery, of self-discovery, and figuring out where he was at emotionally with all the Moses
Yeah.
stuff. But there's a really great moment here that I want to dive into where Aaron and Joshua are having a conversation about Caleb and or kind of about Moses and Caleb, and Joshua kind of asks Aaron, you know, what's going on with you and Moses? He makes fun of you the way Caleb makes fun of me.
Yeah.
And Aaron says, "Do you like the way that Caleb treats you?" And Joshua says, "No, not particularly." Like, so and Caleb is following them the whole time, so you have to assume he probably heard this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because the camera kind of pans up and you see Caleb behind the rocks watching them. And you kind of see like almost an emotional reaction there. So yeah, and then there is kind of a heart-to-heart moment between Caleb and Joshua at the end of their trek to the Red Sea as well. So you start to see kind of their relationship develop. And you can see the friendship developing that we're clearly going to see later on down the line. Because they ultimately kind of become co-leaders together in scripture. So it's spoiler alert, I guess. But so yeah, it's really interesting seeing their dynamic and seeing that develop as well. Do you have any deeper thoughts on the B plot here with Aaron, Joshua, and Caleb, Mom?
No, I think it was a really I think you brought attention to the thing I noticed is some of Caleb's facial expressions.
Yeah.
You could read a lot into those, and um just even his response when like, what are you doing here? And his response, well, basically, I didn't really think you guys would, can't believe you're actually doing this, and like playing it off, but really because he cares. You could tell he cares.
He was playing it off as like
he was playing it off as like,
oh, someone needs to witness them getting eaten by wild dogs or whatever. Like, yeah.
But really it was not. It was because he cared about him. He was worried about him. And so you see that relationship development happening. In fact, in every one of these plots, the whole thing was about relationship. And I would say in episode 5, it was all relationship building and character development, like you said. And so it was all really good. There was just so much going on. It was like, okay, here's this.
Yeah.
But it was a real important, I guess 5 was a very important
this was
episode
like
for that very reason.
I like the way that we're grouping these episodes together because it really felt like episode 1 and 2 played off each other really well. It really felt like episode 3 and 4 also were really simpatico, and now it's feeling like 5 and 6 were also almost meant to be viewed back to back together in a chunk as well.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked out the way that we decided to break these down because each of these episodes speak to each other so well. And I would be curious to go back.
It almost makes you wonder if they almost filled them as one episode and broke it down into 2 episodes.
That's what it felt like.
Because they were so smooth. Yeah, because it flowed together so smoothly. It was almost like you would think it was one full episode if you didn't have the deliberate stop and the break and all the credits, because that's how smooth it flowed from one to the other.
I agree. Yeah, I think overall, I think episode 5 was great. A lot of great character moments, like we said. I think honestly, the thing that I was really thinking about by the end of episode 5 was like, man, they have done a fantastic job. I just think they've gone above and beyond what anyone expected in terms of writing, in terms of characters, in terms of acting. Like, I think everything about the show has just gone above and beyond expectations for it. Because surface level, you just kind of look at it and you go, oh, look, a Bible version of The Office. But then you watch it and you're like, oh, there's something to deeper. This. It gets you in episode 1. You're like, there's something to this. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but there's something to this. And then by the end of episode 2, I was like, oh my gosh, like they've figured it. They've cracked the code. They figured this out. And then by the end of episode 3, I'm like mind boggled because that's where we kind of get introduced to the golden calf situation, and that's the one I was most nervous about. I'm like, how are they going to handle this?
Yeah, how are they gonna handle it? And they did it
And they end up doing it
respectfully.
masterfully.
They did it good.
And then from that golden calf episode onward, they've just handled these moments from comedy into drama, back into comedy. They've handled
Grief,
they've
trauma, all
they've
that.
handled the transition from emotion to emotion so masterfully well, and
Mhm.
to the way that you just buy it, and it's been so good. And we'll get more into that with episode 6 here, because I think episode 6 is kind of the culmination. It's the culmination, of course, of everything that we've been building
Yeah.
throughout the last 5 episodes. All of the character moments, all of the character dynamics are kind of building to this moment. And I think they're capped off here really well. I think they did a great job at
Mhm.
bringing all of the arcs of the season together.
Mhm.
And I think that I think it was just masterfully done. So the main plot of this final episode is they build the tabernacle, and everyone is kind of tasked with doing something for putting the tabernacle together, and then doing this kind of, they call it like a grand opening of the tabernacle. And everyone is kind of forced into a situation where they have to use their talents and abilities to essentially get to the point where they can worship God at this tabernacle. And everybody is feeling, the episode really focuses on unworthiness. Well, literally down to Miriam's original song lyrics, everything. Like, you can tell that everybody is feeling unworthy to give an offering to the Lord that delivered them out of Egypt, especially with the stumbling at the beginning.
Yeah.
And you can tell that everybody's kind of just on edge about, like, there's a great plot line here with Bezalel, the guy who's,
that was amazing.
oh my gosh, dude, every time this guy shows up in this show, he's just got the deepest, most incredible emotional moments, and most relatable moments. Like,
personalized. I personalized it.
I did not think Bezalel, the architect, was going to be one of the best characters in the show, but he doesn't pop up much. He pops up in 2 episodes, but every time he's on screen, just a plot is about to get, like, amazing. Like, that things are going to culminate into an amazing place. And so the kind of main plot, you've got Miriam trying to write a song and essentially choreograph and put together this entire musical show thing. It's like kind of a play musical thing, like something that she's trying to put together and coordinate.
Yeah, she's the choreographer, director of music. She's all of it.
And based on her musical abilities shown in early episodes, you're like, really? Like, because she thinks she's this great musician, but, like, the only thing we ever got from her being a musician was episode 1, when she's, like, banging on the tambourine kind of obnoxiously on top of the hill. Like, not really.
Well, that, and when she told them, if you're going to sin right.
Yeah. Oh, and then she gets everybody on rhythm. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was great.
On rhythm.
That was a great moment. If you're going to sin, at least do it on beat. Yeah, that was a great line.
On beat, yeah.
So we're a little hesitant with Miriam. We're like, okay, let's see how this comes together. And she's even like that, though. Like, she's got a song.
She was nervous.
She's starting to play like this beautiful song kind of at the beginning, and Zipporah comes around the corner and catches her off guard, and she puts the tambourine down, and Zipporah asked her what she was doing, and she's like, oh, I was just playing a silly warm-up song. Don't worry about it. And Zipporah asked her to play the song that she's putting together for the showcase. Just this, like, downbeat song that like, it's just like, we're unworthy, like, just like something very kind of down. And so it kind of shows you Miriam's mindset, like, and I think we've all felt like that, right? Is like, we're unworthy to even approach the Lord in any manner, and then you see there's another whole plot here with Moses is trying to convince Bezalel that his work is good enough. So
Mhm.
throughout the whole episode, Bezalel is struggling with like it's not going to be finished. Like the tabernacle's not going to be finished by the date, you know, and he thinks the work isn't good enough, but like everything looks perfect. And
Yeah, it all
like
looks the same.
there's some really funny gags here with like Bezalel's like showing him the like candle holder thing. I forgot what it's called, but like he's showing him that and he's like, "Look at this."
See
And
this right
it
here?
looks
Yeah.
perfect and Moses is like, "Looks good. Looks perfect." And he's like, "No, it's not. Look at this right here." And he's like, "Which one am I supposed to be looking at? Like which arm?" And he points to it and he's like, "It looks the same as all the other like." And then you find out that he's got a stack of like 20 of them behind the
Yeah, you have a
tabernacle.
concerned Oho.
Yeah.
Oho was
Yeah. Oh my
was
gosh.
very concerned about
Oho in
him.
this episode. Oh, I love Oho. Every time he's on screen, he makes me laugh so hard. Moses approaches Oho to ask him what's up with Bezalel, and he's like, Oho, and then Oho says in response, he goes like Moses goes Oho, and then Oho goes Oho, like he does this little Oho call, thing,
Yeah.
and it's great. I love Oho. I think he's just fantastic. But Oho kind of explains what's going on with Bezalel, that like nothing is good enough, like he can't, and he shows him the stack of like 20 of the candle holder things, and like so it's and then Moses said, "Okay, I'll talk to him," and Oho goes, "Yeah, you better, because if you don't, we're gonna be doing this for the next 40 years." Like it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing, like
Yeah.
like kind of implication there, which I
Right.
think was great. So throughout the episode, you have Moses just kind of trying to approach Bezalel in different ways, and it kind of is reminiscent of, I think it was episode 4 or 5, or yeah, it would have been, I think 3 or 4, where Moses is kind of pursuing Bezalel throughout the episode and trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
And then we find out later in that episode that Bezalel is very upset with himself because he played a part in building the calf. It's a similar vibe throughout this episode. He kind of has to pursue, like he's trying to keep Bezalel away from the tabernacle.
Yeah.
Like it's done, you're done. And again, a moment with
and I
his,
think that's part of Bezalel's
yeah,
struggle is he knows that he failed.
yeah,
And now he wants everything to be perfect. He
yeah,
doesn't want anything to be off. So you see the heartache and the weight of feeling unworthy to be the one, because that was the whole plot of, what was it, episode 4, 3 and
yeah,
4, and so we see him dealing with that now in a different way. Even though he came to this, yes, I will build this for
yeah,
the Lord, he still doesn't feel like he should be. He still
yeah,
doesn't feel worthy. And how many of us, I mean, this is where it comes push. I mean, this is where it really hits home for me, is how many of us, even even though God has called us to minister, to even do what we're doing, Tim, and or to, when he said, Christy, go plant a church, you don't feel worthy to do that kind of stuff.
yeah,
You don't feel worthy to do the things for Christ that he calls you to do. And so especially when you've made mistakes like I have, and so he is such a relatable character.
yeah,
Um, and to know, especially when you're in ministry, you're like, oh, I so relate to this guy. Like, I know God has called me. I know I'm supposed to do good works for the kingdom. I know I'm supposed to build kingdom, but I don't feel worthy. And I don't know how, if you ever will, ever, I don't know if any of us will ever feel worthy. And the fact of the matter is, and it comes through in this, is that none of us feel worthy.
yeah,
From the Bezalels to Miriam to whoever, none of us will ever feel worthy enough,
yeah,
because without the cross, we're not. But with the cross, it makes us worthy. And that's the beauty of this whole Promised Land series, is because they made mistakes over and over and over, and it wasn't just a one-time thing for them. You see them coming in and out of this feeling of um of being the chosen people, but yet feeling unworthy to
yeah,
be the chosen people. And so it's this constant vibe, and we're going to probably see that for the next 40 years of the promised land,
Yeah.
so to speak,
Yeah.
because we know that they continue to make mistakes over and over and over. And so it'll be interesting to see how these characters develop over the next 40 years,
Yeah.
because he is truly becoming one of my favorite characters, Bezalel.
Yeah, which is
And
crazy because
because I
he's
relate so much
yeah,
to him.
it's wild that they've put so much effort and love into a side character, essentially, like somebody who
Yeah.
you don't
Is
expect
there a
him.
side character in this?
That's the
I don't
thing.
think
Well,
there
I
is.
mean, you have the actual background like Hebrews, but like I don't think really everybody who
Every
gets screen
character
time,
feels like a main character.
everybody gets such love and time put into them
Mhm.
that that's the incredible thing about this show is like that's the thing they've done so well is, and I'm going to compare it to The Office again, where when I'm watching something like The Office or Parks and Rec, there's entire episodes where you won't see one of your favorite characters. Not everybody gets equal screen time. And this show has somehow found a way in every episode to balance things out and include everybody and give them all moments to shine. Even if it's, like I said, even if it's like in episode 5 where it's like Chasisi's one of my favorite characters, but
he gets his own little
plot line because they couldn't find a way to fit him in. They clearly couldn't find a way to fit him into the A plot or B plot. So they're like, we'll just give Cece his own little thing to do, like throughout this episode.
Yeah.
Like he's off trying to send messages to his family in Egypt, and we'll make some gags out of that for him.
Good.
That's great writing. Like finding a way to adapt your plot lines to make sure you're not leaving anything off the table, anybody left out. And I think it's really cool. And speaking of Chisisi in this episode, like that's the only group that doesn't seem to be dealing with any sort of like feeling of unworthiness is the men of Korra.
And it would make sense.
The men of Korra, because Korra is so prideful and
right.
So Korra enlists his men into, because Miriam's holding tryouts for her show, and he's like, men, the vocal exercises are paying off. We've got an opportunity. And so, and I'm curious how this is going to turn out as the viewer. And they show up, they're showing all these bad, like basically all these bad auditions. And then Miriam says, but some people are surprising me. And then it cuts to Korra's men and they do this little performance that's like incredible. Like, and it's like, what is the word I'm looking for? There's like a type of, it's kind of like the original boy band. I'm trying to remember what they're called, but they're like, it's like the men with the like pinstripe red and white suits. No, like they're like from like I want to say like the 30s and 40s, like pinstripe red and white suits and the little top hats. I forgot what they're called.
Quartets.
Quartets. They've almost got this like quartet / boy band vibe. And they're really well rehearsed. They're all in sync, and it's really it's surprisingly well done.
Wasn't the song a knockoff of some?
It felt like something. I don't know. It just kind of had
like a knockoff.
It kind of had that quartet vibe to me, and that's the only thing I was thinking of throughout it was like just quartets, basically. But
I thought they were doing some modern.
I thought it was
song because it sounded so familiar.
I thought it was hilarious, though. I thought it was a great moment, and of course they get the job. As basically her choir, which I thought was great. Korra has some great moments here too, like when they finally gather around the tabernacle to open it. This is where things get really emotional, and just so much respect is being paid here. So basically, and we forgot about the other part. Moses and Aaron finally get their kind of culmination of their beef that's been happening since episode 3. Moses finally properly apologizes to Aaron
after an improper
apology. And after Zipporah's input as well, in addition to Miriam's. And he does this, and it's such a beautiful moment, and it's kind of butted up against him giving Aaron the priestly garments and basically
Yeah.
inducting him as high priest. Really funny jealousy from Korra as well. Like, oh, of
Yeah.
course, Aaron's high priest. I wonder how that happened. Let me think.
And his brother.
Nepotism.
What do you call it?
He says
Nepotism.
nepotism.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty funny too. Um, Korra has a lot of really funny moments throughout this episode. He has that moment, and then he has this moment where he says, "I'm not really big into theatrics, but I do love history." And then it cuts to him playing Moses, like in the reenactment of him
Yeah.
telling, and then everybody's cheering for Korra, and he's like looks back and he like smiles, like he's like, "Yeah, this is what I live for," like like.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, but it's really cool seeing everybody come together and finally using their gifts to worship the Lord. And Aaron does the sacrifice, and and he says a sacrifice to the Lord, and then a poof of cloud comes out, and we finally see the pillar of cloud that we know about from the Bible that kind of hovers over the tabernacle. And I thought visually, I was surprised by the visuals here. I thought it was pretty good.
I thought they
You
did good
don't
too.
see a lot of special effects, and not that you would need to. It mostly takes place in a desert with pretty practical stuff that you could build easily. But when there are special effects, I'm like, these aren't bad. I buy it. It's fine. Because we saw some special effects on top of the mountain when God was angry too with them for failing their consecration. So, yeah, we see very few special effects, but I thought this was really good. It seems like they poured a lot of budget into it, and did what they needed to do to pull it off, and I thought it looked good. And
yeah, it did.
And I'm sure they'll get a bigger budget for season 2 as well, because we're going to be seeing the pillar of cloud and pillar of fire. So they're going to have to find a way to pull that off, I'm sure. But and then yeah, and then all of them kind of freak out, bow before the Lord really quickly after that pillar of cloud comes out. And then
and that's when Miriam has her.
And that's when Miriam kind of has this revelation, like she kind of whispers to Zipporah, like, I want to do my song. And she's like, unworthy? She's like, no, my real song. And she pulls out the song. They kind of all start getting to place. They pass the song off to Korra and his men. And then Miriam starts, and it's a beautiful song. Like, legitimately, like, I couldn't believe. I didn't know what to expect, I guess, because of the tone of the show overall. And, like, you know, you don't know what to expect as far as, like, is this going to be funny? Is this going to be, are they going to take the moment seriously? And I think they chose the right path. They took the moment very seriously.
Yeah, they did.
She does this beautiful song and performance, and everybody starts to kind of chime in and worship. And it was beautiful. Like, it hit me emotionally seeing everybody finally go, it doesn't matter, you know, if I feel unworthy or if it's not perfect, or like, all that matters is that I'm doing my best for the Lord. And everybody kind of has this moment at once. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it was very good.
To the point where I was, like I said, I was sitting at work watching this final episode, and I was alone, but I was like still trying to like choke back my happy tears, because it was hitting me emotionally, because I've been there, right? I'm there right now. I mean, if we're being honest, like, I have this calling to make music, and I don't work on music because I feel like anything I make right now, I can't do well, or I can't do perfectly. So why even try, right? So I've been there. I'm there right now, and I'm working through that on my own. So to be in this place right now personally, and even with some of the video stuff we do here on YouTube, like some of the stuff I'm like, man, I feel like I could be doing more, or I'm not doing it perfect or whatever. And so but I do it out of obedience, but it's still like, man, I don't feel like I'm doing so. To be there on a personal level, and then to see all these characters kind of come to this place of like, who cares? Like, he's not asking you to do it perfectly. He's asking you to do your best. And it hit home. It hit home for me. And so I'm like, I'm getting emotional at work watching this final episode, these final events play out. How did it impact you, Mom?
It was a beautiful. I thought the episode was great. I appreciated the taste of humor, but the overall of it did it justice with enough seriousness to make it effective. And I guess, as we're talking about it, I think one of the cool things I think that has come to me just in these moments as we're talking is that truly it's beautiful to see what they've done with this story.
Yeah.
Because in their own way, just like The Chosen in its own way had Jesus come to life for us, I think this has helped us, at least it's helped me in a way to see these people were human.
Yeah.
These people made mistakes just like we did. And I think we give them a bad rap sometimes.
Yeah.
But you look at the things they were facing and the difficulties and the struggles and even though God did come through for them time and time again, you can see the human side and how confused people get and could have gotten.
Yeah.
And they still had all the dynamics of relationships in these situations. But the beauty of it for me was, as we were talking, it was like nobody, I don't think there's one star necessarily.
Yeah.
That has more important of a role than the next role.
Yeah.
Even down to Chasisi, who represents the Gentiles.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
He really is a representation of people that aren't chosen.
Yeah.
And so you see these characters all have their place, all have their giftings, all have their flaws, all have this. But the writers here are doing something, it's almost one of a kind.
Yeah.
Because you see they all have very important roles to play, and you want to see them. If you don't see them for a few minutes, it's like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
And I don't know how that happens in a comedy.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on? And you can see all this stuff taking place behind the scenes, and you can see how this all could be happening. And I think they just did I wish I could write a letter. Maybe I can write a letter to the writers and the actors, because I think they're doing an amazing job down to every one of them that's represented in here. And I think I really wish somehow I could get the message to them to, man, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
You're affecting people, and you're stretching us, and you're helping. I think you're helping to expand our way of thinking, but in a respectful way. It's not ungodly. It's not heresy. Nothing about this is wrong. I'm 6 episodes in, and I sit down now and I don't get tight. I'm not like this. I'm like, what are they going to tell me today? What are they going to show me today? How am I going to just see this differently? And I love that about this show. And I wish somehow I could get that message to them. I am so thankful. And I'd love to say just thank you. Thank you for doing it well, but having the sensitivity and the discernment and the just all the gifting to know how to, I don't know how they're doing it. I really don't know how they're navigating.
Well,
And,
I think
and bringing this kind of a balance to comedy and seriousness. I just I've never seen it like this before.
I think
Never
it's
seen it done this well.
I think the Lord's hand is over the project, clearly. If I'm being 100% honest, like, because I don't know how you pull something like this off, and they did it. And I'm curious. There's things coming up because they said they're going through Deuteronomy. And I imagine the show is going to cap off with the torch being kind of passed from Moses to Joshua. I would guess that'd be
Yeah.
the end goal, right? A lot of things happen in Numbers and Deuteronomy that are intense, to say the least.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how that's
It'll be interesting to see how
handled.
it's handled.
How they can handle this. Yeah.
But again, they just have this masterful
But if anybody
way.
can do it, they
Yeah,
can do it.
if I'm confident that if anybody can do it at this point,
Yeah.
it's this writing team, it's this crew, because they have pulled off moments in this show that I'm like, I was nervous about.
Me too.
How are you going to handle the golden calf? How are you going to handle the tabernacle? Because these are kind of, these are emotional moments. These are deeply emotional moments. These are
Yeah.
one of the moments there's great reverence for the Lord, and you don't want to make light of it. Another moment is great blasphemy of the Lord, and you don't want to make light of it. Like you gotta handle these moments with care, and they've done it beautifully.
Yeah.
One last plot point that we kind of missed: Chasisi gets a letter back from Quailapatra. In the middle of the worship session, he kind of runs out of the crowd because he sees Quailapatra, and he's like, "Quailapatra, stop, I'm right here." And he like grabs it, and there's a letter attached to the foot of Quailapatra, and his family's coming from Egypt. So that'll be interesting.
But the first, wasn't there one letter came before that?
Oh yeah,
said,
in the last episode,
I'm stranded in the desert and I'm dying.
Yeah, in episode 5, he gets a letter back from Quailapatra saying, "Stranded in the desert, need help, dying of thirst. If I don't get help soon, I will die." And then he's like, wrong destination, but we're getting close. And he crumples the letter up and throws it, which I think is fantastic. I love how they showed his tent briefly in episode 5 as well, where he's got like all of his monuments to all the Egyptian gods and like his family and everything. I was like, that's so yeah, it's really funny, but like clearly he hasn't moved on from Egypt. What's interesting is gonna see his character. Does his character start to believe in Yahweh at some point? Because he's seeing all this stuff play out.
What happens when his family is coming to see him?
Yeah,
How are they ever going to?
I have so many questions just surrounding Chasisi. Like, what happens when his family shows up? How does he explain that? Does his cover get blown? Is he accepted into the Hebrew tribes anyway? Because you also have to look at the scripture. And scripture, one thing that's consistent throughout Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and Joshua, all these books, whenever the Lord's giving instruction to them, he also gives instruction on how to treat the foreigners living among them. So this isn't an unbiblical idea. Sure. There were foreigners living among the Hebrews as well. So, so I'm curious if his family shows up and somehow, they've just grown to love Chasisi, so they accept him in anyway. And I'm curious if he starts to serve Yahweh at some point, right? Because he's seeing all this stuff happen and play out. Like he's not oblivious to it. And like he even says at one point, you kind of get a hint in episode 3 when they build the golden calf, like he's like saying how fun the celebration is, but he goes, they know this isn't their God, right? Like he even understands, like they know this isn't their God, right? Like, so he almost has a deeper understanding of who Yahweh is more than they do.
Right. Well, then some of them probably. I was going to say too, I think it was episode 6 that there was a brief mention of his children. Did you see them? They just ran that way.
Yeah.
So when I wonder if they're ever going to
bring the cameramen try to catch them, but they're gone already. Yeah,
they're gone already.
Yeah, I love how they just stayed consistent with that. Like, you kind of get a tease at the beginning of episode 6 because Zipporah is like, you can see the boys when you make up with Aaron, and so like, and then at the end of the episode, she says, "Oh, look, the boys." And then the cameramen try to catch the boys, but they're gone already. Like, so I'm curious to see if I wonder if it was just a thing where it's
ever
like,
show up?
We couldn't pay any more actors, like, or something, or we
I
just
think
haven't we
it's
haven't
a
found
great thing.
we haven't found the right kids to play his kids yet or something like
Yeah.
that, or
Or when
you
are they
know.
going to show up at the end of the 40 years?
Yeah, I think it was I think it's a pretty funny gag though. If they just kept it like
Yeah.
that throughout the whole series where his
It'd be
boys are just
fine.
never there,
Yeah.
I'd be fine with it. I think it'd be funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this was a great way to cap off the season. I'm excited for season 2 to see where it goes. What I was gonna say at the beginning of the pod is even if it gets left at even if it had gotten left at season 1, I appreciate that they capped off.
Okay.
They capped off everybody's stories in a satisfying way, and you could kind of tell that they probably did that on purpose because they probably didn't know. Like we don't know if we're
sure
gonna,
what the budget was going to be, and
are we gonna get a season 2? Like they probably just didn't know, and so I don't blame them for wrapping season 1 up the way they did. I think they wrapped it up in a satisfying way. Of course, they wrapped it up though with Moses saying, "Now it's time to pack it up and start walking." Like, you know,
that was great.
I thought that was great. He's like they're all like having their moment, and then he goes, "All right, now it's time to pack it up and get moving." And then Joshua's like, "To the promised land?" And so like,
he was all excited.
Yeah, he's all excited. So, yeah, I'm super excited to see where they go next. They're going to start their wandering in season 2. It'll be interesting to see what plot lines they decide to tackle. How quickly we progress through the 40 years of wandering too. I'm curious to see. So, yeah, interesting, exciting stuff. I think it was a fantastic show. I highly recommend it. Mom walked into this show super.
I'd say all you people my age and above, you need to watch this.
Super hesitant, but you've heard her final thoughts. I would really like to clip out. I might have to try that like for a short or something. I really want to clip out your initial thoughts on the show. Like episode 1 when you were really hesitant, and then clip out your final thoughts where you're like where you're like praising it and you're like, "Oh, I need to write a letter to like, you know."
No kidding.
Yeah. So yeah, your journey along this journey has been really interesting. You've developed quite a bit too. So
yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, cool. Well,
it's been fun. It's been good for me, and I'm serious when I say that. I think anybody my age, especially my age or older, really needs to watch it and say, "Hey, yeah, maybe we would have done." We can't go down that road. I won't even go with that, but you know, but it's really good. I think I think it would help my generation and above to really just sit back and breathe and relax a little bit and enjoy the writers the creation here and the discernment. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what others would say that are my age and older. See if I have to like throat chop them or slap them up a little bit, say, "Oh, just get over it." Or if they would
loosen
get it
up,
like I did,
literally loosen up a little bit.
At first it was hard for me, but yeah.
I think it's a great watch. I think it's family friendly too. Like if your kids like comedy, if your family likes comedy, I don't think there's anything in here that would prevent you from sitting down and watching it with like your 10-year-old or anything. Like I think it's really,
at least not this season.
Yeah, no, I mean they deal with some heavier stuff, but I mean it's not, you know, I think when they do get a little bit more mature, they do it respectfully, you know. And because there's just mature subject matter here. So, but yeah, I think it's great. And I'm very excited for season 2. So, all right. Well, thanks for joining me, Mom, for these final 2 episodes. Thanks for indulging me and going on this journey with me. I know you were really like not sure after watching the first episode.
I was, yeah.
You were really not sure. She called me and she was like, "Tim,
it pays to watch things twice."
Yeah. She called me on the phone after she watched it. Not even after, like halfway through, and she's like, "Tim, I don't think I can do this." Like she was that like distraught about it at first. But
it was just because it was not my normal type of comedy. And I was so intense, even though they weren't doing anything wrong. I was so intense, it was like hard for me to enjoy it. And then once I finally got through that first episode and then got through the second, I was like, okay, I think this is good.
Yeah.
and then I watched it again, and then I laughed. And when we talked about it, I began to laugh and
Yeah.
smile. And just rehashing the joy of rehashing it with someone without even rewatching
Yeah.
was fun to talk about the different. Even with Melinda, we talked about a couple things and we laughed.
Yeah.
So it really does, just rethinking it and thinking about, or not rethinking, but thinking about it again.
Yeah.
Even without the rewatch, was fun to think about it
Well, and
again
I
and
think
to go over those comedic lines.
well, and I think even if comedy isn't your thing, like I think there's something here for you. Like I have to say that. Like I think
There is,
it
because there is the
I think
seriousness, there
it's
is a
I think it's
honor and
so
respect that
yeah, I
takes
think it's
place.
so respectful of the scripture. And I think the writing and the characters and the relationships and the story arcs, I think everything here culminates so well together that even if the comedy side of things isn't your thing, like there's still enough meat here for you to enjoy. Like there's still something here for you to chew on, because
Yeah.
it
Give it a try.
it gets so deep. I mean, you've heard us talk more about the emotional side of things and the character side of things than the actual comedy. Like the jokes are fun,
Yeah.
but there's something deeper here that it's so respectful of scripture. And it's just so deep that we're sitting here relating to it, like we're characters in the show.
For sure.
That's how deep this show is as far as the content. So I think I would encourage you to check it out, even if comedy isn't your thing. And it might be like you, Mom, where you come around to the jokes and you kind of start to fall into the comedy a little bit. And who knows?
Well, and even thinking about it further, I don't know if there's one person in this that's portrayed, one character that I can't relate to.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Cora.
Yeah. Cora's a tough one, but there's even moments
he's just funny.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
But there's moments.
There's moments that he has even that I can relate to. Yeah.
Yeah, but for like women in ministry, how honest is this?
Yeah.
Because today we still have whether we want it to be admitted or not, or whether we want to think we're on equal planes, we should be. Even though we serve different roles in marriage and different things, when it comes to ministry, God has created us all for a purpose, and we all have a place and giftings. But women, for some reason, we're still looked at as runners up, or the bench, or we could only serve in certain places because of our gender, and it doesn't make any sense. And so you see this constant thing going on with Miriam, especially. Zipporah is Zippy is just out there. She doesn't care. She's
Zippy.
Just a woman,
that's the funny thing is Miriam and Zippy balance each other out.
She's clueless
because Zippy is your stereotypical woman. She is she is the woman that is like, she's into pretty colors and comfort, and she is the stereotypical
Miriam's
housewife
business
woman. She falls into a role and she accepts her role and she likes it. And Miriam's the one she's the busybody. She's the one who wants to please the Lord. She's the one that wants to serve and
wants to know the law.
She wants to know the law. She wants to be educated.
Help people. She wants to be educated. So it's very relatable on all fronts. And I think there's little parts of us in every character.
Yeah.
And I think that's the cool thing about this. I think that's what makes it so effective and relatable, is that it whether you're a male or female, every one of those characters somehow, on some level, there's something we can touch on. And I think that's the beauty of this this series. And so give it a shot. Watch it twice.
I'm gonna binge watch it so now that it's all out. I want to go back and like start from episode 1, watch it. 6 episodes. Each episode is like 45 minutes tops. I mean, most of them are 30 minutes, but some of them are 45 minutes.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. It's brief. It's a brief watch. It's super fun. And
nice and light too.
Really
it's
good.
not. Even though it tackles heavy subject matter at times, there's the little bites of light of that comedy helps us to process it.
Yeah, I've always been a big advocate for comedy helps you get through the hard parts of life. I've always been a
Yeah.
huge advocate of that. That's how I deal with my own trauma and problems. Anytime anything gets hard in my life, I have to laugh about it. I have to joke about it. And probably to my detriment, because people around me think I'm psychotic for making jokes about things that are going on in my life. And I have to
Yeah.
tell them, I'm like, these jokes aren't for you. They're for me. They're for me to process my pain. Like, say what you will about me masking my pain with comedy, but it does help me process. Like, that's just how I deal with things. And that probably has a lot to do with growing up watching, things got real. Like, life started getting real. Now that I think about it, life started getting real when I was like a teenager. I realized life was a lot harder than I thought it was. So during those like growing up years, I picked up watching The Office, and that's where a lot of my comedic, processing came from, because I'm watching this show about relatable people dealing with relatable things, but in a funny way, So, yeah. So great show, especially if you're a fan. If you are a fan of shows like The Office and Parks and Rec, things like that. I'm a huge fan of those shows, and I think this show is right up there with them, if not outpaces them and outclasses them in many ways. Seriously, like I think it does. I think, especially looking back on like season 1 of The Office compared to this. Oh, season 1 of The Office is terrible compared to this. So like, I'm really excited to see what this show turns into.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah. So check it out for sure. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining me, Mom. We'll be doing this again, not with, well, when season 2 comes out, of course we'll be doing this again, but I think we're going to try to tackle The Chosen next, season 1.
Chosen or what is it? The Life of, what is the David one? That one.
Oh, House of David. Once I read that part of the Bible, I'm working my way through the Old Testament right now. So once I read that part of the Bible, I'm going to watch that, but we'll be trying to do it with like all of these. There's so much good biblical TV right now. It's insane how blessed we are.
Spoiled. We're spoiled.
We went from having nothing,
call it,
or everything that we had was terrible, like objectively terrible, or cheesy or cringe, to all of a sudden we have
super low budget.
All of a sudden we have incredible stuff coming out. And we have such a plethora of it. We're even getting video games now too. There's this game coming out that's in development right now called Gate Zero. It's like an Assassin's Creed inspired game but instead of, whatever Assassin's Creed is about, instead of that, you kind of time travel back to, first century Jerusalem when Jesus was here.
Oh, wow.
And you're like, what you're trying to do is piece real history back together, because there's this like evil corporation in the future that is trying to erase that part of history. And so like you're like going back and trying to piece it together and conserve it. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I'll have to show you some gameplay and stuff. I'd like
to see it.
Whenever that comes out, I plan on doing a like full Let's Play series of that on the channel. I want to do that for the channel.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Because it's kind of the first of its kind. So I really, I mean, we've had Bible games before on like the NES and stuff, but garbage anyway. So lots of biblical media, and we're very blessed to be in the era we're in right now. So we're gonna try to tackle The Chosen, House of David. We want to do a retrospective of all 5 seasons of The Chosen. Not all at once, but season by season. And that way we're ready when season 6 comes out of that. Maybe we could start looking back at some of these other like biblical based movies and stuff too. Even the bad ones. Like, I'd like to look back on the bad ones and just see how far we've come sometimes. I think that'd be cool. So yeah, we'll do that. obviously
It'd
this.
be cool to do the Prince of Egypt even.
Oh, I want to. We should do the Prince of Egypt. We really should. That's
that'd be
still
fun
one
to
of
do.
my favorite animated movies of all time.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we'll definitely keep doing more of this stuff. I think it's good to break up the pace between the real world once in a while, because that stuff can get really depressing. So,
Indeed.
So, thank you for joining me. As always, I'm Tim, and we have been joined by Christy, our pastoral presence. I don't think I did an intro, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, you did, I think.
Did I?
Yeah, you did. You did.
All
I'm
right,
pretty
well,
sure you did.
like, subscribe, comment, share, all the YouTube things, and thank you for your love and support. We'll see you guys on the next one.